I wonder if I could turn to you, Dyana, now, because obviously you've had the experience of setting up a grassroots studio initiative. What was that experience like? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about Mother House Studios. What is it and why does it exist? What sort of barriers are you trying to remove?
So, hello everyone again. So just to clarify, the Mother House Studios is an artist studio with integrated childcare where children are welcome into the working space. It combines an open plan working space with a space that is dedicated to children, and they are welcome to move and dance and play between the two spaces as they wish. And the care responsibilities are split between the parents, the mothers, and some dedicated staff. So we still see somehow the division of paid childcare labor and unpaid childcare labor, but it's all integrated in a community that supports each other, and where we can try to strike that balance between combining the intimate life experience that is caring for a child and the intimate life experience that is making art. And having it all into one place where everything is accepted and where people are not asked to compromise necessarily. Really started back in 2015. I had started Procreate Project for a couple of years back then, and it came with conversations just by listening to many artists who had expressed their struggles combining the making and making their artistic process work while caring for a young child. How their studio spaces either was set up in the house and became the children's room, or it was outside of the house and it was unaffordable to them after that. And on top of that, of course, if some of them or many of them were looking for childcare options, how those are also unaffordable. So it came about the desire to give people the choice to still make, the choice to come to a dedicated working space, and the choice to bring or not their children. So we started in 2016 with the first experimental pilot projects, which welcomed over 35 artists and their children. And it was quite bonker because it was just out of desperation at some point, because we couldn't find grants that will support us, because nothing like it had been done until then. And so there is this old track record that you're expected to build until somebody gives you credibility and money to initiate something like the Mother House Studios. And so we decided to go with the totally imperfect scenario. There was an open plan studio, so not all these cubicles or really kind of lonely bubble and quiet bubble for an artist to work with. It was just an open plan in a garden where we just basically placed the children. And we were all organically looking after each other's children, and we just tested it out. And it was a really crucial time, because when I had started thinking about, wait a minute, it must exist a space where you can work and bring your child along. I thought we were going to set up a studio space with a creche on site so that the children could be 100% into someone else's care while the artists were making work. But setting up such a space, it required too many resources that we didn't have at the time. And so we went with just the necessity to come together and try something different, instead of waiting for that perfect setting to exist, or those perfect circumstances and funding to arrive. And it was incredible, because there was a massive realization of separation doesn't have to be the only way forward for art making to happen. We can integrate it. And actually, after that, we went on and tried and tested the model with the support of somebody else coming into place and creating a very inspiring environment for the children. It was already very inspiring. I mean, they were surrounded by artists making all sorts of stuff, but really something dedicated to them. And we started working on this idea of implementing freedom for everyone's involved at different ages, different needs that were present in that space. And now we are, after those experiments, and one in Stratford, actually, we went out of London to see how that worked out. It worked out magically. It was really good. We are now in Catford. We finally received, after 5 years since the pilot projects, we received the first funding to start up a more longer term provision. And we're still fighting the fight. It's not easy, but I can tell you more about that a bit later, maybe.
I mean, you have mentioned sort of the difficulties around securing funding and almost sort of presenting the urgency of this cause. Why do you think you've met such resistance? Is it just a matter of kind of proving the need, or what has been the reason that it's been, you know, often, as you said, kind of a hard sell?
Well, if you think about it nowadays, a setting like the Mother House Studios doesn't exist anywhere apart from some residency solution that invite families. It just tells you a lot. I mean, there is a problem. It's such a simple setting. I mean, I haven't invented the light bulb, you know. I just founded a setting that is just really, really easy. And then actually different people and feminist collectives that have tried to implement and sustain over the years and really establish a setting that is about commons and care and integration and community. It just doesn't fit within this patriarchal capitalistic system that we live in. So it's definitely about proving a need to somebody that doesn't want to listen, really. And that goes really across different sectors when it comes to space, because then you're not just talking about the art world and the inability to see that there is a lack of representation in space and inclusivity when we are structuring and designing platforms for artists, and in my case, artists who care for children. It goes, when you're setting up a studio space, and it goes into local authorities, it goes into support from private companies, developments, lawyers. It just really goes across sectors, and it really shows up how rotten the systems are when it comes to recognizing that this is not just a tick boxing game. There are actually a lot of actions to be made.
Thank you. We wanted to look at this idea that a studio maybe could you know, be the thing that supports artists in maintaining a practice, that it is not necessarily, you know, this kind of inaccessible thing. But obviously I mentioned this to a colleague and she said, no way. No, that's an academic dream. Dyana, did you want to come in on that?
Well, first I want to say you can answer to your friend and say it's not a fantasy, because actually it is a reality. We've made it possible. The problem is that there is some truth there. If you don't count in a lot of free labor, then those things are impossible within this sociocultural scenario.
Do you mean from a kind of organizational point of view?
From the organizational point of view. And in terms of access to a studio space, well, we are looking into, again, different layered issues there, because there are a lot of empty spaces. It's not that there aren't. They are there, but they are often often empty, because what I was told many times is that local authorities would rather have them empty than giving to people that will pay less than the market price. And that's because of just the liaising with people, because of the cost that might be involved. And so they just rather leave them empty until somebody can pay that amount of price, which of course an artist or a grassroots organization like ours cannot pay. And so that comes affordability together with accessibility. So that, I guess, it's what pushes your friend to say that it is a fantasy, because there are really a lot of issues that need to be overcome. And it's not just about the studios being called. It's about having the resources, but not giving them to who needs those resources. We talk about care and inclusivity, but actually there are not systems of care into different sectors and offices that you need to go to in order to be able to create, provide, or access a studio space. So I think that's really important to highlight. I think that the discourse around care and accessibility remains within the ones that are already awakened or the ones that are in need. And there is so much hierarchy in order to be able to provide and access a studio space, especially when it comes to models that do not comply to let's maximize the amount of space that there is in this room. So we're going to make like 30 cubicles and the artist can. So we become affordable because we can work on volume. But that type of system, working on volume and maximizing the space, making the studio model an isolated tiny place without roof on your head so that you can still hear the other people on the other side, but you're pretending they're not there, doesn't really welcome everyone's needs. But it works because then we're saying that, tick, we are an affordable studio space.
Maybe this is for you, Dyana. Do you find that this kind of community collective model that that you've set up with Mother House Studios, how does that impact the work of the artists who use this space? Do you think it does?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I think that it actually creates a condition for art to exist, art that wouldn't otherwise being created to be created. Because we provide a space for people that would otherwise be struggling to make work on the kitchen table, within, you know, the ambivalence and the tension of having, you know, a lot of needs in a room and not all of them to be able to be met at home. So we had some really life-changing stories at the studios, artists that came with a lot of preconceptions and resistance to working alongside other people, but actually finding that really inspiring and really triggering a creative process for them. People that came with intention only to use the space as a networking space because they used to work with not child-friendly material, and then actually being in the space, being inspired to test new materials. And that was a major shift in their artistic practice, a shift that wouldn't have happened if they would have stayed at home. Or other people that came struggling with a lot of postnatal depression, and channeling all that experience and emotion through their making, and then really impacting the relationship between the parent and the child and through the art making process. So it wasn't just an artwork being made, but it was shifting a whole existence for two people at that time. So yes, I think it does really impact people.